Welcome back to the channel. My name is Colin Setterfield, and today I will talk about the art and science of the phenomenon called channeling. The idea here is to define the contact between a human being on Earth and a being who exists in a higher cosmic dimension. It can be confidently accepted that higher beings would have greater knowledge of the human earthly journey, of its history and its context within the greater cosmic plan. The reason a human would channel such a being is to gain a better knowledge about the human condition and learn more about how we can improve our current quality of life and how we can prepare for a better future. This is different from the contact that we have learned about the subconscious mind, as in quantum healing hypnosis technique, or contact with one's higher self, because these can be considered as in-house exchanges. That is part of your mind-body-spirit complex heritage, which is common for beings who incarnate on Earth. Channeling is making contact with a higher enlightened being in order to have an exchange that is beyond this in-house legacy of your incarnation. The channeled entity will use a name like Bruce or any other such name that it feels is an appropriate handle for the exchange of its higher wisdom. In any forms of conversation on Earth, humans are normally very personal with one another, and the use of a name or a label creates the impression of endearment and sincerity in the exchange. Higher enlightened beings realize this and employ it as a confidence-building technique with their human channelers. Within the higher being's own group of enlightened entities, these human names are not used, as they have other means of identification when engaged in telepathic communications with one another. There are also social memory complex groups like Ra, progenitor of the law of one material, that identify as a complex group, that is, all the souls are consolidated as one entity and all think with one mind. Their exchange with the human counterpart, however, will seem to the human channeler as though a single soul, one out of the many, was responsible for the impartation. The science behind the channeling phenomenon is called quantum mechanics, already alluded to in MME's first episode. I talked about the different concepts that arise from the quantum physics and how these defy common sense, yet they have been proved over and over again in laboratory settings. Theory such as a multiverse, parallel universes, and the many worlds theory spring from the many probabilities that are evoked in the potential application of the science to the earthly domain, and how the outcomes defy common sense. It's tragic that Albert Einstein spent his end years trying to prove that quantum mechanics was not complete, despite all the proof of its strange and unique qualities produced in the laboratory experiments. In conjunction with Boris Podolsky and Nathan Rosen, he presented the EPR paradox, an effort to prove that the understanding of quantum mechanics is incomplete and has something missing in its constitutional formulation. That science will eventually prove this to be true. However, the science is now seen by most scientists and physicists as complete and representative of cosmic universal law. Perhaps a conclusion we may never understand. The reason why the quantum world is so strange was alluded to in a previous episode, that all geometrically established energy points in the zero-point energy vacuum of the ether are connected, and when entangled, particles are involved, that is, particles existing together in a superposition. There is the potential for an instantaneous transfer of information between these points, even if they are billions of miles apart. That is, information will be instantly available at all points in the ether. With full attribution to the work of David Wilcock, who wrote the book The Shift of the Ages in 2005, the ether is fluid-like energy source which is technically known as an energy medium or substrate, and which exists everywhere throughout the known universe. This energy medium is normally unseen to us, just as we do not see the air we breathe, and could be thought of as the body of the one infinite creator. Mainstream scientists have quietly rediscovered this energy medium, and it is variously called the virtual particle flux, the zero-point energy field, the quantum physical vacuum, the quantum foam, superstrings, dark matter, dark energy, among other things. For all practical purposes, the energy itself is conscious, and therefore unifies all the universe as one conscious life form, an ultimate being. The ether can be thought of as light liquid, or as the author of Genesis said, "In the beginning, the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light." Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 to 3. There is then this amazing framework we call the ether, or the quantum field, that facilitates remote viewers to connect the dots and enable them to lock onto the target without being told what that target was. The same framework provides the quantum healing hypnosis practitioner with a link to the client's subconscious mind. And should we need information from the Akashic records, it is the amazing quantum field that provides that connection. Now I pose an interesting question. Can anyone channel? And whom should we be channeling? I've already covered the whom part of the question, higher beings and higher dimensions. But there is the question of possible danger for the contactee. There are some bad dudes out there, predatory negative entities, who are seeking to manipulate unsuspecting humans into giving over their souls for nefarious purposes. You may ask, is there a way that one can be protected from these predatory entities? It is believed there are questions that one can ask the entity, who must abide by the universal laws of balance between positive and negative polarity in the answer they give to the channeler, or risk universal condemnation, perhaps a topic we'll cover in a future episode. In light of another area of the metaphysical process, which, if you remember, is not a channeling situation but an in-house endeavor, there's an example of protection used by quantum healing hypnosis practitioners who ask clients to envisage a pyramid of protective white light covering their entire being, a measure that protects from detrimental and harmful experiences. Whatever these may be, it just may be that such an application of pure white light may offer the same type of protection for the channeler. This is not to say that such attacks on the channeling process are given. However, it's an advantage to know the possibility exists and should be seen as the exception rather than the rule. But please remember that if a channeler takes up with the devil, there is no retirement benefit. Channeling higher beings is not for everyone, although anyone can do it if the need exists. So please don't feel compelled to do this as a means of increasing your vibration. Treat this talk as adding to your own body of knowledge. It's not a commercial for people to take up channeling higher dimensional beings. Well, that's all we have time for today. In the next episode, I'll be broaching a very interesting subject. How were the pyramids built? If the subject interests you, be sure not to miss next week's episode. Thank you for watching. See you next week.